Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well as you watch this video. My name is Hugo Perez Trejo and I am the membership coordinator at Elton. Today we'll have a very nice and interesting conversation about how to talk to children about immigration status with Dr. Michelle Joaquin. Dr. Michelle Joaquin is a Latina psychologist, specializes in trauma and psychological assessment of asylum seekers. She completed advanced trauma training at USC and led DEI faculty group at Yale. She's also trained in evidence-based mental health care and currently runs private psychotherapy practice in California and New York. So, without further ado, I'll hand the microphone over to Dr. Michelle Joaquin. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. A little bit about me. I am a Latina cisgender woman from the Dominican Republic. I use she, her pronouns. I am a psychologist, as you mentioned, and I serve in California and New York. I provide therapy and I also conduct psychological immigration evaluations for immigration cases. Today, we'll be talking about how to talk to children about immigration status. Today's plan will be learn how stress and anxiety affects your body, how to support yourself and your family during these difficult times, ways parents or caregivers can respond when their children show signs of stress, anxiety, or depression. And again, how to talk to your children about immigration, tools and resources available to you and your family, and how to support your children in navigating stress and the worry. So, what are the effects of stress and anxiety on children? The effects of stress and anxiety are going to depend on the age of the child. But here's a list of some examples. The child may seem more irritable or emotional. The child may be overly clingy to parents, to caregivers, changes in sleep habits, changes in appetite, has more tantrums, like hitting their own heads, lags behind on their development, says few words, or does not use the toilet after they were already toilet trained. For younger children, we tend to see more somatic complaints, such as like stomach aches, unexplained vomiting. So I wrote here some unexplained physical aches, like stomach aches, headaches, changes in sleep and appetite, becoming more sensitive, isolating, or appears depressed, doesn't want to go to school, gets upset easily, seems more worried than usual, or appears moody or irritable. The effects of stress and anxiety on adults: unexplained physical pain, large, unusual reactions to things, changes in sleep, changes in appetite, having an anxiety or panic attacks, excessively watching the news, listening to the news, increased alcohol consumption in order to like cope with the stress, anxiety, and uncertainty of the situation. So with this slide, what are the common mistakes? This is a very delicate question, especially in the context of undocumented families living with like the political uncertainty. Most parents do the best that they can with the limited resources that they have, and it's a lot of pressure. So the goal isn't to judge, but the goal is to reflect and be able to provide support. So here are some common mistakes that parents make with love and with good intention when they're trying to support their children through the fear, the anxiety, and uncertainty. And I'm going to give some examples of what we can try instead. So with number one, avoiding the conversation. I've heard too often people say they're too young to know, but children can sense when something is wrong, and silence can actually make the anxiety worse. Instead, we can try saying something like, I know things feel uncertain. You can talk to me about anything. A little bit more about number one is that your child may feel the anxiety, may feel the worry about their parents' safety, even if they don't say so. So they may fear separation or feel anxious when you go to work or when they hear things about immigration on the news. They may feel burdened with like very strong emotions. And some children actually might even feel guilty that they have certain opportunities that maybe their parents don't, like either citizenship or the education that they have access to. Other children I've seen have a feeling of like obligation in order to like wanting to protect you, to protect the caregiver, the parent, which is it's a heavy burden for a child to have. And silence is heavy. Like many children keep quiet about their family situation out of like fear, out of shame, but the silence can actually make them feel isolated or different. So it's important that we talk about it. So number two, ignoring their feelings, saying things like, don't worry, just a very popular phrase, but this actually can make the child feel like their emotions are not valid. So instead we want to try saying something like, it's okay to feel scared. I'm here with you. Number three, pressure them to be strong, saying things like be grateful, others have it worse. This actually increases the guilt and blocks the emotional honesty. So instead, we want to try saying something like, it's okay to feel sad, even when we are grateful, like we can have both feelings at once. Number four, not seeking support, either because of fear, because of stigma or shame that can keep families feeling isolated. And instead, we want to seek help from schools, from counselors, from community groups in order to help our children and our families. So, how do we actually talk about immigration status with children? So, from age 1 to 3, you don't have, when I say 1 to 3, 1 to 3 years old, you don't have to tell young children at this age about your immigration status. It would be helpful to emphasize safety, saying things like you will always be taken care of. It's important to maintain a consistent routine like dinner time, playtime, bath time, bedtime. Routines are especially important for children during the times of stress because they can help provide predictability, stability, and it actually can help promote emotional well-being for the child. It encourages like positive behaviors in children because it provides a clear structure, especially when the world around them is feeling very uncertain. So for ages 4 to 6 years old, the language is, as you can see, really depends on the child's age and the situation. So, for example, what you say is going to be really different if the undocumented person is at home or if they've been detained or if they've been deported, like depending obviously on the situation. But some overall things that I want to mention is at 4 to 6 years old, you can explain to them that the person was born in another country. You can tell them that the parent is working hard to ensure that the family stays together at home. Don't lie, be honest, but keep it as simple as possible, especially at this age, and answer their questions honestly and appropriately according to their age. The don't lie is something that I do want to emphasize. We often think that children don't know when something is wrong or when something is different, but they do. They have a keen sense of being able of like unexpressed emotions, and like the moods, especially for the people that are close to them. So they are able to notice by your breath, by your tone of voice, and they can feel that something is wrong. And if no one talks about what's wrong, they might actually feel even more anxiety and more panic. So it's helpful to have these conversations. So 4 to 6 years old, what do we actually say? So here's an example. Dad went to the Dominican Republic when he was born. He has to stay there for now. He needs a special documentation to return, and he's working hard to get it. But he misses you so much, and he wishes he didn't have to leave. I'm gonna stay here with you. I'm also sad that Dad isn't with us. We can call him, FaceTime him, and draw pictures for him. Dad always thinks about you and loves you even when he's far away. So in this example, I do want to emphasize 3 things that was said here, which is one, we validated and acknowledged the child's feeling. 2, being honest. I know I keep emphasizing that. It's just something that I've seen a lot. Parents say like, oh, they're at work or they're doing something else. It's just really important to be honest. And then 3, offering different options of what we can actually do. And it obviously is going to depend where the person is, because maybe if they're detained, we can't talk to them, for example. Or maybe if they've been deported, like we can talk to them through FaceTime, just so I like to be able to offer something that we can do at the end. So age 7 to 11 years old. Actually, and I'm gonna take a little pause here. I do also want to recommend that adults talk to other adults in the family and make a plan in case of an emergency. A lot of times people avoid these types of conversations because it's really scary, but it's really important for folks to have a plan, to know like, okay, if anything happens, I already talked to my sister, I already talked to my neighbor or my cousin, and that's who's gonna like, go pick up the kids if anything goes wrong. It's helpful to identify a person outside of the home that you can contact. Okay, so let me just continue here. So age 7 to 11, at this age, it's going to be different because they have more like cognitive capacity to understand what's happening. The brain is going to be more mature at this age. So you can actually explain the immigration status of each family member. Emphasizing safety again is going to be important. Ask the child what they've heard on the news, from friends, from family, from social media. Again, don't lie. Don't say that the parents at work or in school or on vacation. And just remind the child that it's not their fault. You can tell them that, it's the child's responsibility to just do their job, to play, focus, go to school, do their chores, and the parent, it's our responsibility or caregiver to keep everybody safe, with the helps of like other professionals like lawyers, doctors, etc. And it's also helpful to make sure that you answer the child's questions if they have any, and give them an opportunity and say like, do you have any questions? And around this age, actually, a suggestion that I would do with all children, all different ages, is to like at the end, just kind of like have a little recap and be like, what did you hear me say? What did you understand? Because sometimes there's miscommunication or misinterpretation of what we're trying to say, or they may have heard something completely different. So I always like to, at the end, kind of like, just say like, what did you hear me say? Have them like kind of tell me what they heard. And then you have a chance there to kind of like fix if there's like any misunderstanding there. So here's an example. So in some cases, they've detained dad. So here's an example of some things that we can say. This is again from age 7 to 11. Daddy is being held in this place where he can't leave. He's trying really hard to get the document so that he can leave and visit us and stay with us. But in the meantime, he's going to call us. He misses you. You can ask questions like, how are you feeling? What questions do you have? Do you want us to call him or write him a letter? Again, during this time, it's important to acknowledge the child's feelings. If the child is crying, you can say something like, I know you're sad, I'm feeling sad too. Or if they're angry, whatever the emotion is, and it could be a variety of different emotions that you might not even be expecting, it's helpful to acknowledge it, to be honest, and then offer some options. At this age, they may not want to draw, but I don't know, maybe we can choose a song that reminds you of the person, or we can write them a letter, like just something. I like to end with something kind of concrete that we can do in the meantime. So age 12 and up. So again, the age of a 12-year-old now is going to be even more developed than a 7-year-old, especially in the areas of like reasoning, self-control, and just kind of like abstract thinking. So they're more socially and emotionally aware at this age. There's been a lot of like brain growth, a lot of hormone changes. So we're having conversations with children, but they've already had conversations. They've already looked things up on the internet. So they may know more than what you expect them to know, which might actually surprise you, that they might have more information about immigration and politics than you expect at this age. So at this age, 3 suggestions is that you can review the family plan in case the member is deported. If the child wants to watch the news, watch it together and see if they have any questions. And 3, again, just being honest about the situation. And sometimes the honesty can be just about things that we don't know, and we're not sure about. Like if the person's being detained and we don't know what might happen, like we can acknowledge that. And again, but ending with what we can do in the meantime. So 12 and up, here I have an example. You're the father of a 13-year-old girl. Her mother was arrested yesterday, and you realize that your daughter heard you talking to your sister on the phone. Your daughter asks you what happened. What do you tell her? So I'm going to pause here for 10 seconds and take a sip of water while you kind of reflect and think, what would you say in this situation. So in the next slide, here's an example of maybe like a kind of a conversation between the child and the parent. So the child may say like, I heard you were talking to Tia late last night, and I know I took mom because she's an immigrant. The dad could say something like, I know this is sad and scary for you. And for us, we all miss mom so much. There's so much to learn. But one thing that I want you to understand is that being an immigrant doesn't mean that you're going to be deported. Mom was undocumented, which means she didn't have the paperwork to live and work in the US. Child might say something like, it's not fair. And dad might say something like, I know, it's sad. I want you to know that you can always come talk to me if you're feeling sad or upset. Again, we want to acknowledge feelings. It's helpful to ask the child if they have questions. And if they ask you a question that might be like really hard to answer, because kids sometimes can have questions that we just might not know what to say in the moment or how to respond to that, it's okay to think about it and come back to it. You can say something like, that is a very good question. I'm going to think about it and I will let you know tomorrow. The important thing is, though, that you do come back to it. I've heard sometimes parents be like, oh, yes, she forgot. And, I don't have to answer it. But no, we want to come back to it and answer their questions. And then, like I keep emphasizing, offering some options is also important. So at this age, they might be like more active on social media. So, which is something that's important to a lot of teenagers, to be active in social media. So they may have already actually participated in some like online activism that you don't know about. So you can encourage them or to continue to do so or help them start doing so, just kind of thinking of ways to like help them feel empowered. So ways we can help children cope with stress and help them feel confident and empowered. Listen without judgment. Allow children to talk about their feelings. Create routines, security, consistency, even with small routines. It gives the child a sense of stability in times of uncertainty. Celebrate their strengths. Give them options. You can be a role model for your child and show them that it's okay to express your emotions. For example, it's okay to cry in front of a child and tell them, that you're sad too. That's okay. It's okay to show your emotions. We want to make sure that the emotion is not, if we need a second, it's okay to, step away. But like if you're having like a teardrop or like a little bit of crying, like it's okay to be transparent and honest with your child. If possible, maintain regular contact with the person who's been deported and maintain the consistent routine. Normalize that it's natural to feel anxious. What you're feeling is valid and it's a valid response to a difficult environment. Normalize any emotional response, even fear, anger, the helplessness. And this is an example of what you can say. Avoid minimizing the impact of the policies or trying to focus on the child being resilient, like focusing on that too much without letting the child actually feel what they're feeling can be not helpful. So, try to give them agency when appropriate. You can say things like, despite what's happening, you're still worthy, you're still powerful, and you're capable of defining your own future. Help connect them with community groups to identify practical tools, legal resources, community organizations, mental health care, advocacy opportunities. Highlight cultural values such as familism, storytelling, intergenerational wisdom as a source of healing. Use language that honors the identity and culture of your child and your family, we're not trying to just pathologize. If you are a mental health professional or educator or advocate, you might incorporate some more like somatic practices like mindfulness, art therapy, or narrative therapy, which is going to be especially helpful for people who don't have the language or confidence to verbally be able to process their emotions or the trauma. And so now I would like to go through a grounding technique. So we're going to do a grounding technique, and the grounding techniques are helpful when you're anxious because they shift your attention away from the anxious thoughts and bring you back to the present. Anxiety can make you focus on a lot of on like what ifs or worst case scenarios. So this is really going to remind our brains and bodies that you're safe right now. It also helps calm your nervous system by engaging all of your senses, by engaging touch, sight, smell, hearing, taste, which is going to help then reduce the physical symptoms of anxiety, such as like rapid heart rate or dizziness. It's going to give your brain a calm and a specific task to focus on. So this technique that I will guide you through is through the five senses, and it's going to help you remember to be in the present. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we begin by taking a deep breath from your belly. So 5, observe. Find 5 things that you can see and say them out loud. For example, I could see my computer. I could see this cup. I could see a pencil. I could see a table. And I could see the armchair. 4 is feel. Pay attention to your body and think of the 4 things that you can feel and say them out loud. For example, I feel my feet, the warmness of the socks on my feet, my hair touching my neck. I can feel my buttocks against the chair, and I can feel my hands on my lap. 3 is listen. Listen to 3 sounds and say them out loud. So, for example, I can hear a little bit of traffic outside. I can hear the sound of the air conditioner, and I can hear the air purifier. 2 is smell. Name 2 things that you can smell. If you're allowed, maybe you can go somewhere else and smell something. If you can't smell something in the moment, or if you can't move, you can name 2 of your favorite smells. So for example, I can smell the coffee that I was drinking this morning, because there's still some left over on the cup, and I can smell the perfume that I'm wearing. And then 1 is taste. Name 1 thing that you can taste. It could be the toothpaste from brushing your teeth or an after dinner mint that you had. If you can't taste anything, say what you like best. So for example, I can still taste the coffee that I drank not long ago. And then we take another deep breath to finish. So we'll continue the presentation. So facing deportation. Here are some suggestions. And you can inform your child's school that a major change has happened in the family. You can ask them to let you know if they notice any changes in your child's behavior, and you can talk to the school counselor as well. And that way, you'll be able to connect your child to resources there as well. Managing stress at home. Here are some examples of things that we can do: taking walks, hikes, cooking, listening to music, taking a bath, knit, sew, dancing, talking with friends, watching fun and relaxing movies or TV shows, reading, making herbal tea. These are some examples, but this is a good time to reflect on what you find helpful and what ways are healthy that you can manage the stress at home, because we typically have our strategies, but when the moment of like anxiety, sometimes we might forget. So it's helpful to kind of reflect on ways that are going to be helpful for us to manage stress at home. Preparation, practical preparations to reduce anxiety. Create a family preparedness plan, identify emergency contacts, organize the important documents. So that's going to be passport, legal documents, IDs, having them in an accessible place. Know your rights, learn what you can do if you are approached by an immigration agent, and carry maybe a know your rights card. Avoid signing anything without a lawyer. Seek legal support. You can consult with an immigration attorney, even for basic legal evaluation. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations that offer low cost or free legal assistance. You can join a local support network, seek out immigration advocacy groups, faith-based networks, or mutual aid organizations that offer legal, emotional, and practical support. So mental and emotional coping strategies. Again, it's important when we're talking about children to just talk openly, remind them that they're safe, remind them that they're loved. Your love is powerful, and even when life is like uncertain, knowing that they have the support and that they have a home like full of love is going to be very emotionally empowering. So some other strategies, as I would say here, mental and emotional coping strategies, we have mindfulness and relaxation techniques, like the one that we practice. You can practice deep breathing, meditation, yoga to manage anxiety. Use mobile apps like Bamboo. I like Bamboo, it's free, it's in Spanish. Insight Timer, another app that I use a lot, even personally and with clients, also free. I love free resources. There's also Headspace, which offers, I think they do offer a free version, or at least a trial, and then limit maybe media intake. So we want to avoid constantly watching the news because that might just fuel a lot of like fear and anxiety. So maybe set limit on how often and what sources you follow. Stay connected. This is really important. It's important to stay connected. It's important to talk regularly with trusted friends, with family, with community members. Isolation is just going to exacerbate the stress. So, it's going to have like safe and supportive relationships, which are going to be really important during this time. Exercise regularly, even when it comes to short walks or exercise that you can do at home to reduce tension and improve your mood. YouTube has a lot of free videos of things that you can do at home. Eat well, try to sleep regularly as much as you can. Nutrition and rest is going to influence your mental health. Like, it's just going to influence it directly, like eating well and sleeping well. So prioritize both whenever possible, of course. Participate in spiritual or religious practices that feel important to you. So prayers, attending religious services, connecting with a religious leader, which can provide comfort and guidance. Respect the cultural traditions, engage in the music, the storytelling, the cooking, or the rituals from your culture, which is going to foster a sense of identity and control. And so signs that you may need therapy. So we all have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of our children. So these are some signs for the adults in the lives of the children as well. So your stress is going to affect your child, or can affect your child. So finding ways to take care of your own emotional well-being through the community therapy or quiet time is also actually going to help your child. So it's just as important to take care of yourself. So some signs that you may need therapy is if you feel like you are an adult who's drinking alcohol or smoking more frequently, difficulty going to work, having frequent fights with family members, hurting yourself, doesn't leave the house, is doing poorly in school or other activities that you may be engaged in. And so before I close, I just want to end with, I know that I want you to know that you are not alone and that your love, your sacrifice, your strength is all very important. Many children grow up with families that have undocumented parents or undocumented family members, and they do face unique challenges. But with the support, they can grow up healthy, they can grow up resilient, and they can grow up to be proud of themselves. So remember, you don't need to have all the answers. Just being present, being caring and open, it's just going to make a huge difference. You're doing so much with so little, and your children can see that. So helping them feel heard, helping them feel safe, and proud of themselves is one of the most valuable things that you can do, and one of the most valuable gifts that you can give them, no matter what the news crew is saying on TV. And at the end, if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me. That's my contact information, my phone number, and also my email. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for such an interesting presentation. It's really helpful, and I hope that helps too many people. And thank you for watching this video. Please share it with your friends and give us thumbs up. If you'd like to learn more about the work we do, please visit our website at eltan.org. Also, you could follow us on Instagram at the Latinx Therapist Action Network. And if you have any questions or comments, please send us a message to info@eltan.org. Info@eltan.org. Sorry. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye bye.